a special edition of Litter Media Live. I'm Dan Ramey, and in studio with us is Jenn Thomas, the Executive Director of the Ross County Humane Society. Hiya.
Hi.
Good to see you here. We want to give an update on where things are standing with the building project, and not only that, the update that you had from your annual meetings. So we'll discuss that and more right after this from our friends at Advanced Services.
Hi, I'm Dave Pinkerton with Advanced Services Heating and Cooling, your local heating and cooling expert. If you want quality service, quality installation, give Advanced Services a call, 740-773-4499.
It is time to talk dogs. And
my favorite thing.
You bet. Gosh, we've known each other, I don't know how long now. It seems like we've been friends forever. But I know your passion and your pride for those who are housed in your shelter.
Sure. All the dogs in our community, not just the ones that are in our shelter.
Yeah. Pull that a little closer to you there, so we'll make sure.
Is that better?
Make sure Mom and Dad can hear you. So
no one's ever told me that I'm not talking loud enough, so.
Well, we want to jump into, I know we've talked a lot about the building campaign.
It's going to happen, I promise.
It is going to happen. It will happen before the Browns appear in a Super Bowl, I think. But
I don't know anything about sports, but I hope that that's true.
And I do too. But we want to talk about where you stand with this. I know you're still collecting money.
We are. I mean, we're always collecting money in general, but we are. So when we started the project in 2022, we had kind of estimated at a certain number, and we quickly realized that if we wanted to build something that was going to last, with materials that were going to last and what we needed for the community, that we were going to be looking at a larger number. And so to date, we have collected either already in hand or via pledges about $1.7 million. Which that's a pretty big accomplishment. We started our campaign in October of 2021.
Right.
So yeah, I guess we started doing this in 21. And we need about $2 million, we think. So we're about $300,000 from the gap. We're going to break ground this year. I don't know when, but I promise you, you will absolutely know, and you will be invited. We're going to break ground.
There are little intricacies along the way when you build a project like this that you have to, especially a nonprofit.
Sure.
You've got a lot of things and a lot of hoops to jump through, so to speak.
Yeah. So my personal philosophy is I want to go into this without any debt. So I don't want to take out loans to build the building. I've seen a lot of really nice facilities get built, and they take out, these massive loans to cover the deficit, and then they struggle to even operate. So again, that's just my personal philosophy. I think the board is pretty on board with that. So we would like to collect all of the money to build the building because that's, I think, the most responsible way for us to do it. So.
And if you still want to sponsor something, you can.
Sure. Absolutely. There's still sponsorship opportunities available. We did have someone that did sponsor the entire surgery suite. Mm-hmm. So in the new building, we will have a veterinary hospital, which at first we will just use for our own shelter dogs. But the goal long-term is to have it provide low-cost veterinary care to the community. It'll be a benefit for the community. We don't currently have anything that is considered low cost. We have some wonderful veterinarians in Chillicothe and in Ross County, so definitely no shade to them, but we're just offering another service. In turn for us, that will provide a revenue stream. So those are all things that obviously right now we can't offer just based on the condition of our current building. So this new building is definitely going to be an asset in more than one way.
Yeah, and I would think that there might be some interest from surrounding counties.
Sure.
Because not everybody is got really good facilities.
Sure, and I said in our annual meeting, and we have wonderful relationships with the other shelters that surround us, but this building will be the gold standard in Southern Ohio. I would love for every county to have a new shelter. I know that that's, not always possible, but we want to be able to show people you can do this, you can build these, and be able to say, show them the way to build a facility that is going to be conducive to long-term success, both for the the organization itself and for the dogs. And so, I think that it will be a good cornerstone for Ross County to have this facility be built, because it is really going to be state of the art. Within reason, we obviously know that, we have some parameters that we need to stay in, but, there's nothing else similar to it in Southern Ohio, as far in rural Southern Ohio. So Highland County, Fayette County, Vinton County, Brown County, Scioto County. Those are a lot of the underserved communities, at least in Southern Ohio. And so to have, our facility be built is hopefully going to provide some resources maybe to other communities as well.
You're not building the eighth wonder of the world, but it will seem like the eighth wonder of the
I've
world.
made it sound super awesome, and I know that it's just a dog facility, but to me, and you and I talked before this, this has been my life for the last 8 years. I do this because I want to do it. I do it because I'm passionate about it. And this building is so important. We've been talking about this since I started in 2015 about the need for a new facility, both for emotional health for the dogs, physical health for the dogs, and growth for the community. So it definitely isn't going to be we're not getting gold fixtures, but we definitely will have a lot of things that they get in the big city down here in Ross County, because that's who we've consulted with people that are experts in their field on building animal shelters to be good for the dogs and not just a place to put them.
Yeah. And the conditions you have now really are difficult, but it's 30 years old.
One of our donors calls our building deplorable. And I love him dearly, but it hurts my feelings every time he says it, but he's not wrong. Yeah. And, we say it we do the best that we can with what we currently have, and what we currently have is terrible. The floors are cracked. The building is rusted away from its foundation. We don't have proper storage for anything. Everybody's working on top of one another. There's no way for us to really properly control disease if it were to outbreak. And so, our building it's deplorable.
Well, I guess the point I was getting to is that when it was built, it wasn't built for the next 100 years.
No.
But what you will be building
yes,
could most likely be built for the next 100 years.
We're hopeful. We're hopeful that, it's a long-term investment. This has not been a, throw it together, here's some money, give us a building. We've researched every aspect of what we're doing, from the colors to the materials to the way that the building is laid out, the flow of it. We've consulted again with people that have already done this. They've already built shelters. So we've been able to take away from them what they did that they didn't like, that they would do differently. And so I think animal sheltering is always going to change. I think in 100 years, is our building still going to be what they're doing for animal sheltering? Probably not. But it's definitely going to be better than the pole barn building that we have now.
And the care for the animals has changed over the years.
For sure.
You're learning more about how to make it better for them.
Right. Our shelter currently is in process of becoming fear-free certified. That basically means it's a program certification that teaches the staff how to handle animals in a way that is going to create the least amount of stress for the animals and the staff. I think even I had stats on my annual board meeting. I think it was in 2010, maybe. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong. They euthanized 2,500 animals. And, that was just the way they did things. The shelters were a way to house animals that didn't have anywhere to go. And then they were, either reunited with their owners or they were euthanized. And that's, we've learned over the last 20 years that that's, maybe not the best way to handle things. And so we always have to be learning and, finding new ways to do stuff to make things better. In the end, it makes things better for the community because we're putting out healthier, more mentally sound animals, which is, better for everybody that lives amongst these animals in our community. So it's, it's very multifaceted. I could talk about this stuff for hours, which I know nobody really wants to hear, but everything we're doing is for the dogs and the community, whether it's the color paint we choose or the materials we choose or how we set the building up. So
there was a point in time that my jaw dropped when I heard this, but it was during COVID where you had no animals to adopt.
We didn't.
And that was just crazy. I thought I'd never heard of that because, in my years of working with the Big Brothers Big Sisters of South Central Ohio, there is still always a waiting list of kids to be matched. It's like that with the adoption of dogs. There's always a dog available, but that period of time, for whatever reason, it wasn't.
I think, and I'm definitely not an expert on this, I think that what happened in COVID with everybody was home, everybody had time, everybody was looking for some sense of normalcy or some sense of purpose. And so we did have a time where we're like, we don't even have enough dogs to give to people. But what has, in turn, access to vet care also was lower at that time. And so we had animals that were being born into homes that maybe necessarily didn't have a proper access to vet care. So now what we're seeing is a lot of the dogs that we're getting in are in that 2 to 3 year age range, and we call them COVID puppies. So what has happened is, and this is not in every case, is that people that have adopted these dogs weren't able to properly socialize them. So the dogs have separation anxiety, or they don't know how to interact in a community because they grew up during that period where, they weren't going out like they should, or they weren't, exposed to as many things as they should be. And so we're seeing a lot of those dogs coming back in now with some behavioral issues. Most of them are fixable behavioral issues, but, and I think that there's a surge in unwanted dog pregnancy, and a lot of those are from the backup from COVID. So where vets' offices couldn't get them in. So now, where we went through that period of not having enough animals to now we have, like this morning, somebody asked us to take 20 puppies. Normally puppies would fly out of the shelter, and that's great because we're sending them out sterilized and vaccinated. But now I have puppies that sit in shelter for weeks and weeks because adoptions have slowed back down. And I don't know if I don't think it's just our community. I think it's nationwide. It's just adoptions were really slow last year, and they're slow now, and we'll get through it. We always do, but it's, rescue is ebb and flow. Animal sheltering is ebb and flow. And if you don't grow and change the way you do things, you're not going to succeed. And so we're just finding our way to succeed in the environment that we're currently in.
There's some areas I want to go to that I've got like 3 or 4 in my head right now, just from what you were talking about.
Sorry.
Let's first of all, I want to talk about the health of the animal and the mental health of the animal. It's something that you say that there are behavioral situations that can be corrected. And if that animal is introduced into a family setting that maybe isn't ready for adoption, you guys cover that also. You think and care about these animals before they get matched with someone.
Sure. We try and sort of along these lines is, we've had people say to us, it's all in how you raise them. And a lot of times they use that with pit bulls. And that's not always the case because genetics does play a role in things. And so there are some things that can be corrected. Anxiety issues sometimes can be corrected. Destructive issues can be corrected. Usually aggression issues are not something that are very easily corrected by the average pet owner. And so, when those issues come from other issues that have not been addressed. And so we assess all of the dogs that come in for those issues so that we can try to make you aware of what choices you're making when you take one of our dogs. Are we always correct? No, we're sure not. But we're going to be here to help you through it. Whether that means you have to bring the dog back, we have more information about what's going to be the proper setting for the dog to be in. Or if that's us providing you resources for dog training or, things that we've been through. I adopted a puppy last year, and I thought, well, it's all going to be how I raise you. Well, she's a pit bull and a blue heeler. I thought she'll be great. I've had pit bulls. She acts like a blue heeler. And I spend hours every day making sure that she gets the exercise and stimulation that she needs for training. And I think that when people adopt dogs of unknown backgrounds, which a lot of times are from us, we don't know what they're mixed with. They have to be willing to adapt and take our advice when they are running into problems for how to help them retain their pets. I joke and I say that we have all the trash goblin dogs, and they're all of the dogs that are just mixed breed dogs. We don't know maybe necessarily, what their genetic backgrounds are, but a lot of them are wonderful dogs. And we've taken dogs. We just took dogs from Pike County. Those dogs lived absolutely horrible lives, and they're very sweet dogs. So I think that most dogs can be rehabilitated if you have the proper person and proper, training to do so.
Yeah. For those dogs that are in your kennel now, your shelter, and you've allowed me back there with a video camera, and I'll tell you, the dogs are loud. They are, and I'm trying to paint a picture here. So if you're a family, you want to come in and adopt a dog, that dog is already in an environment of other dogs.
Correct. It's very loud.
And so they're starving for attention.
Correct.
Not to say that your staff doesn't give them attention.
Right.
Because I've seen them work with them. They're fantastic. But you're taking a dog that you don't know its background. You're introducing them to another family, a different atmosphere. So there's going to be some quirks along the way that
Sure.
they have to, and you're equipped to be able to help them find that match.
We try really hard to ask people, like, what do you think makes this dog a good match for you? It's not because we want to trick you into not getting the dog. It's we again, had I realized my dog was a healer, I might have not chosen it. And so we're just trying to help you make a good fit for your family. Dogs are cute. So, we have staff that's trained to recognize certain behaviors, like dogs that are maybe prey driven. We've had dogs that see small children as prey, not to attack, but they want to chase them, they want to herd them. Obviously, we're not going to send that dog into a home with small children.
Right.
We don't want your children to be traumatized by your new dog. And so when we tell you, hey, this isn't a good fit, it's not because we don't like you, and it's not because we don't want you to have the dog. It's because we want you to have a good experience with what we're doing. And we're trying to do our very best to be as transparent as possible about what you're getting from the shelter. So, and I have 8 years of experience doing this. My shelter manager's been there longer than I have. The dog wardens have been there for a very long time. And so collectively, we take that knowledge to try to make the best match for someone. And it's, we don't let people walk through the back anymore. Everything is done via appointment for numerous reasons. Liability reasons being first and foremost, in my personal opinion. The floors are slick back there. People put their fingers in kennels. Dogs are already amped up. The second reason is it's mentally better for the dogs to not have strangers walking through the back of the building. They're more calmer. They respond better to us teaching them things when they don't have that external stimuli, like getting them all riled up. Because it's like if you took a big room and you put 40 dogs in it. I don't know if you've ever been in a room with 40 dogs, but it's very loud and it's overwhelming. And when we used to have people that would go back there, kids would cry when they would go back there because it's so loud and it's just overwhelming. It's overstimulating for the kids, and it's even more overstimulating for the dogs. So we do everything by appointment. We try to help you narrow down who you think you might want. And then once you come in, we'll help you find someone. You just can't walk back through there and poke your fingers in the kennels.
Yeah, because when you're back there, you see all different varieties. Most of them are starving for attention, or first of all, they're standoffish. It's like, hey, you're coming into my territory. Yeah. But then you'll see the one that's just cowering over in the side, very timid. So just like humans, dogs have those emotions as well.
And the other thing is we know these dogs. We interact with them every day. I was telling you before here, I took a dog out several weeks ago to exercise it, and it knocked me down and broke my ankle. I still love the dog. I sent it into foster. I would 100% take it home, but I know that I'm not going to send that dog home with your grandma. We want to make sure, we're interacting with these dogs every day. We know quirks. We know their behaviors. For the most part, obviously there's going to be some dogs we're going to send them into your home, and they're going to have behaviors that we don't know about, but we work our hardest to educate ourselves so that we can educate you to make a good decision about what's going to come into your house. And again, it's not because we don't want you to see what's happening. It's because we want you to understand that we're here. This is our specialty. You wouldn't go into McDonald's and try to make your own hamburger. You would let McDonald's people do it. Yeah. So let us help you make that right decision.
And not to break any HIPAA laws or anything like it. You didn't really break it.
I didn't break it. It was a tendon.
But you were in a boot for a while.
I did wear a boot. I did have a concussion because I got knocked out by hitting the ground. If anybody wants to adopt Torrent, he's a wonderful dog. You must have sturdy ankles, and if you need new hips, Torrent's not for you. But yeah, those are the things. We do those things so you don't have to.
Yeah. And I like that name, Torrent.
That's, ironic. The foster changed his name to Squid. He's in foster with a dog trainer. So we knew that Torrent would need a little more care than we could give him in shelter. Obviously, nobody wants a broken leg or a concussion, even though we got that. But we sent him into a foster because we knew that he probably would not have a successful placement if we didn't get him additional training. So that's what we did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the kind of passion and care and compassion they have for the animals. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the adoption process, because how often have we seen or heard somebody come in and say, well, I just want to take this dog off your hands.
Yes.
But there are costs involved.
Sure.
And give the audience an opportunity to learn more.
So our adoption fees this year, they went up to $225. I did the calculations from last year, and every dog that walked through our building, whether we kept it, whether it went home, our average cost per dog was about $408. So, and, we provide, heartworm screenings, Lyme disease screenings, flea and tick prevention. So, if you want to adopt a dog from us, know that you're getting dogs that we hopefully won't let them break your hip, because we've already established that. And we're trying to give you dogs that are as healthy as possible. So you apply online. All of the dogs are listed on the website. It's kept up to date in real time. The application process is really simple. We have worked really hard to reduce as many barriers as we can against adoption. So we don't want to do a home visit. We don't need to know your blood type. We don't need to know how much money you make. We just want to know, are you allowed to have a dog at your property where you live? Either if you own it, cool. If somebody else owns it, we just want to ask them, can Susie have a dog at her house? Like, we just want to make sure, because again, we're trying to make a long-term match. You fill out a little application online. We approve it. We send you an email. You call us. We set you an appointment. It's really easy. And then once you have that appointment, you can look at multiple dogs. All you have to do is just fill out a really easy application so we can help you make the right choice and make sure that you're allowed to have a dog where you live.
Yeah, and that streamlines the process.
It really does.
In a great way.
It makes it easier, and not everybody's going to get approved. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean we don't want to adopt dogs to you. It doesn't mean we want to keep them. It's just our parameters for adoption. And the other thing about that is it's just like everything else. If we say, no, we're not going to approve you for this, and you feel like it's not the correct decision, have a conversation with us. We're pretty big sticklers on spay and neuter, only because of our stance for what we see. So we want your dogs to be spayed and neutered at home. Sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes they're not old enough. But we don't always know that. We just know that your vet says, no, they're not neutered. Instead of being angry at us and telling us you're going to go buy a dog, which, again, we don't care where you get your dog as long as we never see it, have a conversation with us. Hey, Molly can't get spayed because she's only 4 months old and my vet wants to wait until she's 2. Molly can't get spayed because she has a medical condition. Like, have a conversation with us, because that's going to go further for everybody involved in making sure that we're sending the right dog home with you. So we're not hard to get along with. We're just trying to do the best that we can for the community, and we strongly feel that the only way for us to get our dog population under control is spay and neuter. It's not responsible for us to perpetuate breeding, especially with shelter dogs, and we just don't want there to be any kind of accidents. That's the biggest hurdle, is people don't have their dogs spayed and neutered to getting approved for adoption. So, And if you choose not to, we don't hate you. We still like you. We still want you to support us. We just want you to know that, we just got 20 puppies this morning that have nowhere to go. So.
Or they'll go home with somebody else.
I mean, they will go home, and then the problem with that is they won't spay and neuter them either, and then there'll be more of them. Yeah. Breeding is important. Like, we need to continue to breed dogs to have more dogs, but maybe just not in the manner that we're doing it right now.
Volunteerism. You're always open to volunteers to come and help walk the dogs, give them that interaction they need daily. Yeah,
we have lots of opportunities for volunteering. If you go to our website, it's rosscountyhumanesociety.org. If you click the Get Involved tab, there is a volunteer, just an application and like a general liability waiver with some information. We currently allow you to make your own volunteering schedule. You do have to be 16, and you cannot bring your children. It's too much of a liability for us. We do try to go to schools to, allow other people to get involved that are younger, but for hands-on work with the dogs, you have to be at least 16. But yeah, it's a really simple process. We just had a volunteer out today that was out walking dogs. You can bathe dogs. You can help make enrichment toys. You can, you can learn about how to train. Like, we'll teach you whatever you want to know if it's going to benefit the dogs and us. So,
and materials, You're always open to receiving donations of cleaning supplies and
That
paper towels.
That is our biggest need. Bleach. I think we actually purchased bleach today because we ran out. Bleach, unscented, laundry detergent. We probably do 20 loads of laundry a day. It is so much laundry. Puppy pads, leashes, collars. All of our food gets donated by Petland, so we don't typically ask for food. If you do bring us food, we put it in our pet food pantry, which is a program that we offer for families who might need help feeding their pets. Again, we're trying to help people retain ownership of their pets in a respectful way. So if you can't feed your pet, reach out to us and say, hey, do you guys have any free dog food? I really just need 2 bags to get through till whenever. We'll help you do that. So if you do give us dog food, that's what we use it for. But cleaning supplies, normally we ask for blankets. Right now we have so many blankets, I have nowhere to put them. Please don't bring me any blankets.
And I guess that's the thing. If you don't know what to get to donate to you, a check works just as good.
Cash is king. I love money. I love your money. I love everybody's money. Our operation, which a lot of people don't know this, it's over $500,000 a year for us to do what we do. We serve over 1,000 dogs every year. I think last year it was almost 1,100. And so, I'm aside from just saying, please give me your money, like the money that we're getting is also money that we're putting aside for the future. We don't want to just operate day to day. We're looking long term. How can we have long term success? Just like with the building, we want to have funds to make sure that building operates. And we've done a really good job at our meeting. Once again, we made it in the black in 2022, which a lot of organizations did not. And so, those cash donations, are wonderful, but any donation, whether it's time, cash. But if you'd like to give me any cash to help dogs, I will be glad to either pick that up or you can drop it off.
And if I'm not mistaken, isn't there a location on your website where you can make a donation financially through your credit card or your debit card, whichever, at Ross County Humane Society.org?
Yes.
I should know. I've got it up on the scroller here.
Oh, I wasn't even looking up there.
And is there anything that we have missed? Yeah, this has been a pretty thorough conversation, but I think a good conversation, I think.
I think that, I want people to know that we're here for the community. It's really easy for us to get caught up in our feelings when bad things happen. And, people are scared sometimes to reach out to help from us because I think they're afraid like they're going to get in trouble or, sometimes that there needs to be some sort of intervention, but I just want people to reach out to us either when they're looking to add a pet or if they need help with their pet, and understand we're not always going to be able to immediately help. We might say we can't take this right now, and it's not because we don't want to, it's because we physically don't have the space to take it. And this year especially has been really hard with us being full. We hadn't experienced that in several years, but when I'm out of space to put something, my only options are ask you to retain your dog until I can make space, or I can start euthanizing things to make space. And I haven't had to do that for 9 years. So just be patient with us. We're all navigating this new kind of animal welfare world that we're living in, and we want to help as many people as we can. But we need open communication and just a little bit of patience and understanding. But we appreciate everyone, whether it's people that reach out to us that need help, or people that donate, or people that foster or adopt. We can't do any of this. I can't do any of this solely by myself. And without the support of the community, we wouldn't even be having any of this conversation.
I guess there's one more thing I want to ask.
Okay.
And this came up with the recent incident down in Pike County. We like to focus on the good, but in your business, that there's also difficult times, very difficult times. And if someone spots something in their community going on like this, the abuse of animals, or perhaps they're just a difficult circumstance, you're not the go-to to call.
No.
Call law enforcement, right?
Yeah, so it depends. So we contract for humane agents, and our humane agents are... the instance in Pike County, our humane agents would have just removed the dogs, which is what Pike County did. But our goal is to educate people before it gets to that point. So if you see that your neighbor has a bunch of dogs or cats or horses or whatever, and it's getting to be too much, you can always call our humane agents, or you can call the dog warden, or you can call law enforcement with your concerns. The other thing that people need to understand is we can only act within the law. What is the law is not always what we want the law to be. And so just because you don't like it doesn't mean that it's not legal. So I think that's my portion that I need to educate people on. But, we don't want to get to the Pike County situation. There were over 100 dogs on the property and only 80 of them were still alive. It definitely was one of the most taxing things that we've seen in that scale. And we're working through that. We're very open with the staff for mental health, which, a lot of times we don't talk about. But I think that reaching out to your law enforcement repeatedly, if nothing is happening, continue to reach out so that we don't get to the point where we have somebody on a property with 100 dogs and most of them aren't alive. So.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to touch on that.
Sorry, I'm very wordy.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to touch on it because I know it's heart tugging, to see these things. Yeah. It may show up on social media and you come across it in your feed and it's like, oh my gosh, what can we do to help this situation? Yeah. And it just seems to me that law enforcement might be the best place to go first.
I think the instance of Pike County, there was nothing that could have been done. That gentleman didn't want assistance. Yeah. So, and it did take their law enforcement a while to address it. And that's happens here too. Like you can only do so much, like because you don't think something is good doesn't mean that the law doesn't see it as legal. So, our humane agent, we contract with Fayette Regional Humane Society. If you suspect animal neglect or abuse in Ross County, you can call them at 740-335-8126. We do pay them. They come down here and investigate. You can always call the dog warden. They're short-staffed right now. If anybody's looking for a job, the dog warden department is hiring. You can work in the same building as me, which is a bonus in and of itself.
It's very delightful.
Yes, it is delightful. I mean, and once we get our new building, it'll be more delightful, but you can always reach out to them as well. And if you can't get a hold of them, call the sheriff's department.
Yeah. I like the fact that you know the number. It's unfortunate that you know the number, though, because obviously you've had to call the number a number of times. So, Jenn Thomas, thank you for joining us
Thank you for having me.
Sure thing. And we hope you have learned more about the Ross County Humane Society. If you want to know more, visit their website, rosscountyhumanesociety.org. For Jenn Thomas, I'm Dan Ramey. We'll see you later. And thank you to Advanced Services for sponsoring today's interview.